Grazing on the Swiss chard. The funny thing is they don't really hurt much. They come in and they just nibble on it and they eat the earwigs if they catch bugs or anything in it. And so these little ones that I popped in here because I was kind of running out of places to put things don't really matter. They're incidental. That you have a turkey for a falcon. There's your turkey falcon. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this.
I guess me and Kai have eaten all the peppers off that.
So there's one. Off this one? Is that why there's no peppers on it?
Yeah. Although there are some more flowers coming out, so.
Ooh. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. These were russets.
So especially in a state like Idaho, we're zone 3-4. Having a greenhouse does not mean you can plant your garden early unless you have an external source of heat. If you don't have a propane heater or an electric heater or a hotbed, there's no way you're going to be able to start a garden in January and February. The reason for that is it may get warmed up during the day, like it's probably in the 30s in there instead of 18 degrees Fahrenheit, but that's not warm enough to keep little baby plants alive. And a hotbed has a constant temperature of about blood temperature, 97 or even a little bit warmer Fahrenheit. And it has that temperature constantly, night and day. And so when the temperatures outside drop down to negative 25, negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit, it doesn't really matter because the hotbed that the seeds are in are covered with a frost cloth and they stay warm until the next time we have more sunshine and warmer weather. It's a nursery bed. It's the ideal, perfect growing habitat for new seedlings. The geese do so much better in here than outside when it's snowing like it is. So they take little baths in their water, they have their grain, and then I've put new mulch and sawdust down for them so it's nice on their feet. I don't know if you can see the meat rabbits very well. These are our last babies that are ready to be butchered. And they live on hay and a little bit of scratch grain and water. We don't do pellets, otherwise we can't afford to raise meat rabbits. So these are the waterproof covers just so they're not getting dripped on when there's condensation in the greenhouse. These are the females from that batch. That batch was males. This batch is the females. As you can see, they live on hay, water, and a little bit of chicken scratch. Hi, little baby. Look like you're taking life very serious. Keeping the rabbits in the greenhouse means that we can continue to breed all year round. But we're not currently breeding. We have more meat than we can use. And these are our farm kitties. Yeah, I know. Alright, so I was going to show you what our weather's doing. My big camera doesn't really like snow. So, this is the beginning of the hotbed greenhouse. I moved all the materials out here by myself and mocked it up, and then the girls came out and helped me square it up. So the spot that needs to be lined today is the inside so that I can start filling it with wood chips and manure. Okay, so this is gardening weed barrier, but it's not normal gardening weed barrier. This is 6 mil, 6 or 8 mil. I need to go look it up. It's quite a bit thicker. And I think it'll be easier to work with than a normal tarp, which is what I use. I have the code in the bottom for Vivor. It's not an affiliate link. I'm just trying out their product to see if I like this better than using a tarp. My plastic that I'm going to be putting over the top of the greenhouse is also from Vivor. The last greenhouse plastic that I bought was from Amazon, and it was very inexpensive, but it's brittle. Alright, so this was my first attempt at using old plastic, an old tarp, to line the inside of a hotbed. As you can see, they're all different colors. I just used what tarps I had. Now, what I've noticed is the plastic doesn't break down as long as it's not exposed to UV. It's the plastic up here on the side that starts to break down because it's exposed to UV. My dog is definitely going to put this fabric to the test. He does think that he needs to walk on it with his aggressive toenails. It did not come on a roll. I think it's too thick really to come on a roll. It's really thick. Graham, could you get up, please? Thank you. Thank you. Can you get off of it, please? Or I guess you could use it for dog furniture. Graham, get off of it. Dude, I can't unwrap it if you're on top of it. Could you move? Graham Cracker? Graham Cracker, could you move? All the way off. All the way off. Come on, over here. Over here. Off. Get off. Graham, you're not helping. Did you want to go in the house? Are your feet cold? Is that what the problem is? Okay, let me have this one. Okay, move, 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 move. All right. So I asked them for a piece that was big enough that I could double it over and cover both of the insides of both beds. So we'll see how this goes. All right, for this fabric, I just used staples. When I've done tarps in the past, I have not done just staples. I've used lathe on the sides to reinforce that it's not moving, but I had plenty of fabric this time. You can see that I gathered it up and stapled it to the pallet in the back through the cow panel, and I bunched it and pleated it so that there was just plenty of give. Nothing is straight or going to be strained by the compost. And again, in the corners, everything is just bunched all the way into the corners and then kicked back. I don't want there to be a lot of fabric on the ground when I put the compost in, because then it will drag the fabric down. You want all the fabric pushed to the side, and this is a better side where it's just kind of bunched up at the bottom. You can see this here is a bulge, so there's plenty of give. When I put the compost in, there's plenty of give so that it's not putting strain on the fabric. You could use something that was cotton or wool, and it will compost at the same time as the wood if you do, because anything that's biodegradable, the bacteria and the fungus is going to work on it as if it was wood. And so you need to use plastic if you're not going to use tin. Tin is much more expensive. It lasts much longer. It works better, but not everybody has money to run out and get tin. The years that I used tin, I had salvaged it from an old calf shed that my father-in-law had taken down. And so that's where I got my tin. And you can find tin, old barn roofing tin at dumps a lot of times, or at salvage yards. And that is the ideal material to use. Use metal every time if you can. I lined the inside of my first hotbed that I tried to use plastic on just with greenhouse plastic. The nice thing about this is that as long as it's not in contact with sunlight, which when it's in a hotbed, it's covered in compost, it's not biodegrading quickly. It is just inert unless plastic breaks down badly in UV. But in here, the plastic is not in contact with UV unless it's up here on the side. The rest of the time it's just covered. I do understand about microplastics. I get it that that's a thing. And if I had the money, I would use just metal. But I don't have the money to do it, and I still need to feed my family. I'd rather feed my family something that had slight contact with plastic than to have my family go hungry. This is a staple gun that I prefer. It's a great little staple gun. It's called a Surebonder, I think is what it's called. And then the size of staples that I use is the JT21. And they just work great. I use them for just about everything. And you don't need to overthink it with this. I mean, a staple here and there. As long as I'm really careful about how I put my compost in, I will not damage the plastic. One thing to be aware of is if you put big logs in, you have to put them in the straight middle, not touching the plastic, because any sharp edges on the logs will tear your plastic. So if I put logs in, big honking logs, I have to make sure they stay in the middle. I have to make sure they don't catch on the fabric as I'm putting them in. And the rest of it needs to be something like wood mulch, compost. It's not as warm in this greenhouse as it is in the other greenhouse because the rabbits haven't had time to build up any compost. Their hay and their manure goes down to the bottom on top of cardboard and stuff. But they've only been in here for a week. And so there's no compost in here to warm things up. Whereas the other hotbed in the big tough greenhouse is keeping the greenhouse warm. Warmer than just a greenhouse could in this kind of weather. So for those of you who think that by having a greenhouse you can, plant a garden in February, that's not the case.
This is my fall lettuce garden and fall cucumber. Huh?
Why do I keep hurting myself?
I don't know.
I just stubbed 3 of my toes on the El Camino tire.
I'm sorry. Do not come over here, Turkey. I don't want you on this. Okay, I'm trying to reposition this so that it... So, this is lettuce, and then the others are cucumbers. But I gotta pull this off so that I can put it back over so that the turkeys will stay out of it. We now have all 3 of our expendable rabbit cages up on the hotbed. 1, 2, 3, and Paige is currently feeding beet greens.
Did you show them the beets that they came from?
Yeah, I did. Super fun. Yeah, they're beautiful. I have to do this early in the morning because we do have yellow jackets in the bed. As long as I do this when it's cool, they are okay. If I try to do it when it's not cool... Hey guys, what are you finding? You finding bugs?